All right. Welcome, everybody, to round number 3 of OMEC, Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. That round 2 is not accurate. I did so much work on getting this thing set up and didn't even think to look at the very easy Sebring and Road Atlanta. So don't listen to that where it says we are. We're at Sebring, as you can tell from that track map. Pretty notable one. The Sebring 12 is where, obviously... Oh. There we go. Don't know why I went live like that. So, we're at another sprint week, so 60% for both GT3s and GT4s. I am Fennicini. Joining with me in the booth, as always, is Kevin Hayes. We'll see him in just a moment when he gets done with the driver's briefing. And we'll take you through a quick rundown of our championship standings when he returns. Last time out, we had the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in the wet, as you saw there. 4 classes tonight. I have to update a couple drivers, I think. That did not get quite fully updated the correct way. Yeah, I got a couple more to add, a couple to update, because we got a couple of changes from GT3 into from GT4 AM to GT4 Pro. Let me go find where these drivers are at. Devin Adams and Gary Yee joining GT4 Pro from GT4 AM. These drivers coming in for various other races they have had this season. We'll get them all squared away, hopefully, here. And then, all right. Let's hit OK on that. It should repopulate here in just a moment with all these updates. If it didn't already. 50, we have, I believe, 40-something drivers out on track. Should be a busy field. We'll see if my computer can handle it. Sometimes it has issues. A busy League party chat. I was busy talking to them about how much I don't like this track, but that is because I think it's dull. And people say the racing is great here, and I say the racing is great everywhere because it's not the track that makes the drivers racing good. It's usually the drivers. So I'm getting that out of the way now before anybody yells at me for it. Oh, big spin for, I believe, Daniel Curio in the background there. Chris Kraus chasing down Landon Height, I believe, here as they get through the back half of this lap. To go refresh myself on track as interesting. It doesn't say I'm dropping frames, so I don't know what YouTube is on. I think the chat tell me, are we doing good? If not,
the hot dog water crew in the chat tonight.
Oh wow,
put your dogs in the chat.
Yeah, put the dogs in the chat. Kevin Hayes, welcome to the booth.
Put the dogs in the chat. Hello. We had a much more structured drivers meeting this week. I can inform you that when I have the script up, it goes much better.
Wow. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, when you have a checklist, you don't have to memorize from. I tried to give the old Bob Lindell, it's not push to talk, it's push to crash.
Uh-huh.
And, well, I'm no Bob Lindell. That's all I'm going to say.
It's pretty hard to replace Bob Lindell.
It's impossible to replace that man. Bob, if you're out there watching the broadcast, hope you're doing well, sir.
We do miss you here at OMEC. Let's see. I don't see Awful Sauce Motor Racing, the team that usually helps out Adam Dahl in that chat, so maybe they aren't in tonight. I also don't see Adam Dahl.
It's still a little early. They got about 8-9 minutes before the race starts.
They do. We're taking a quick look at Luc Plaisance who's currently on an outlap there.
All right, so who's your money on in qualifying here at Sebring? I've got a feeling it's going to be a. I'm thinking Dan personally, because the Mustang, long straights here, gets the power down well out of the corners.
I think Nicholas Maynard topped the timing board in practice, so I'm gonna guess that's probably gonna be a similar. But I think it's gonna be close between both of them, as they're both front-engined GT3 cars that really seem to thrive on the long straights that are here at Sebring. So we'll have to see.
Oh, I don't know if it was the same in your split this weekend. By the way, how did your spot 24 go?
My spot 24 went pretty all right. I ended up P19 and all said and done with the team. I think you guys did pretty well, if I remember correctly. Seeing online, how did you?
We had quite the race. As I've spoken about in the broadcast earlier this season, it was my first time ever driving the Porsche. So I ended up qualifying that car P51 of 56.
Wow.
Qualifying did not go well. Though we were that whole field spread. So I think 54 cars qualified. We had 2 guys just decide to start from the back. 1.5 seconds from me to pole.
Wow.
It was a tremendously tight field, very competitive field, and we took that car from 51st all the way to 10th. So
nice.
Fuel strat there at the end. We had some guys in our fuel strat the whole race was because the Porsche was better on fuel. Go longer than everybody else every single stint. So we were running 26, 27 laps every stint. And towards the end of the race, there were some guys who had to pit, and we didn't have to. And we got 2 spots on the last lap, and it was a hard-fought top 10.
Fantastic. Nicely done. We were slotted for a solid top 10 finish, and then we had an incident in Radion that bumped us back down to 19th. We still were up from 43rd. We didn't qualify with too much better than y'all did. Same kind of gap between us and the leaders was like a second and a half, 2 seconds. And just competitive fields, I think. And that, I think, is a big hallmark of the Spot 24 is they usually are pretty competitive fields, regardless of what split you're in.
Unless you're in split 22.
Well,
split 22.
Split 22
is going to go down on the iRacing iceberg. Split 22 is going to be deep down there.
Yeah,
it's going to be down there with the the IndyCar Pro disqualification situation.
Yes, yeah.
Which I was a part of. If you didn't know any of that,
was not aware that you were involved in it. I knew a little bit about it tangentially, but
I was the first person to be disqualified.
Wow.
And then I got hot in the IndyCar Discord, which is a great community here on iRacing. If you are not currently driving the IndyCar, the IR18, go drive it. And if you want, there is a Discord that's primarily based around the IndyCar community here on iRacing, and it is a great place. But I got a little hot in there. There was a couple other drivers who also got caught up in it. But yeah, I was the first to get disqualified and be like, hey guys, something's up. And tried to argue with iRacing. Tried to send them screenshots from like the 2012 broadcast of the 500 where people were doing it. Like I went deep down the rabbit hole to try to prove my case. And all in all, I think about 12 of us got disqualified from that whole thing. It was quite the event, and did not expect myself to be at the center of it at one point.
I feel like it's always how you just end up in the epicenter of like crazy shit that's happening. It's never like you wanted to be there, but you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm here now. Oops.
And I was so, I was only on iRacing for about a year at that point, so it was so not the person to be probably the one arguing that. So it was quite funny. There were a bunch of people who I didn't expect to have DMs come into me asking about it because I was asking questions, being like, "What the fuck?" So yeah, Split 22 is going to be right in there.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is. We will cover, I think, that a little bit more detail if we want to a little bit later. Let's talk about some qualifying times. Most of the drivers have at least gone around once. We've been kind of riding along with Luc Plaisance for an onboard with a lap as we talk about Split 22, alright, Spot 24s, as well as a few other things, who is currently third in GT4 AM. Brody Wallace topping the time charts for GT4 or GT3 AM. Never mind. Luc Plaisance retakes it. What was I saying? Our current championship holder in GT3 GT3 AM. We'll talk about the championship stand, I think, in between races because we are about done with qualifying since it's a solo quali. Dan Griffin, like you said, I think you're right on the money there on pole position, but Nicholas Maynard is, I think, just finishing his first lap and going into his second flying lap. We'll see if he can close the half a second distance between himself and Dan Griffin in that BMW.
Nate was up there for a second. I was hoping Nate was going to cause some issues for these boys up there. It looks like Dan Griffin's done, so I think you're right. It's all down to how well the tires got hot on Maynard's first lap.
Mm-hmm. I think my guess is based on the current time frame, he looks like he's set to drive a pretty solid race there. Tyler Roberts, only 2 GT4 Pro drivers again this week. Not the same 2 we saw the first 2 weeks, as Devin Adam has been promoted to GT4 Pro from GT4 AM. We've had some more GT4 AM drivers pop in. Colin Olson, a newcomer. Jaden Rissard, I think, is also around. Let's see. Calvin Collado up. Personal bests in all of these sectors. We're still riding along with Nicholas Maynard, but he has yet to set a time, so he's going to put one on the board now. I believe Calvin find himself.
He's coming down the back straight, right? Oh, about to come down the back straight.
Mm-hmm. Green personal bests in all of these sectors, a purple sector for the last 2 long laps here.
And he's about exactly a half tenth up on his previous time, so it's going to be... Oh, he's made up a tenth. And, he lost a little bit in sunset. This is going to be tight.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. Well, let's see here. He's on a flyer all the same.
He got a great run out of sunset.
Oh, let's see. He does dethrone Dan Griffin by a tenth, 1.5 tenths.
He was dancing between half a tenth and 6 tenths up on his best time going through sunset, and coming out of sunset, it went 6 tenths, 7 tenths, 6 tenths, and it just bumped up. He got that extra tenth on corner exit with the warmer tires, and it was just enough for him.
Hell yeah. So most of the GT3 field come to a conclusion of their runs. Landon Height, Nick Terrell, both drivers that need to set a time here. Nick Terrell finally getting across the line, I think, posting a time of 6th in class. I believe 6th overall, if I'm not mistaken. 7th overall. Luc Plaisance beating him out. I get the feeling we might see Luc Plaisance jump up to GT3 Pro, because he's usually been mixing up there with the top 5 or so.
Yeah, we might need to take a look at that.
Say Landon Height getting the time on the board, 2:06.9. I remember listening to the party chat before the race started this evening that he has turned 0 laps at Sebring in before tonight. So an arrive and drive effort there, which I think will go pretty decently depending. As qualification comes to a close. And we'll see the grid here momentarily now that it is ready. Nicholas Maynard heading us off alongside Dan Griffin in P2. Justin Hall alongside Nate Sides for the second row. Malcolm Coates and Luc Plaisance for row number 3. Nick Terrell and Patrick Cantrell for row number 4. In 9th, Tony Caicedo alongside Brody Wallace. In 10th, Jason Larson, Mitch Buenaventura are your top 12 drivers. Let's see if we can move down the order here. 13th, Daniel Curio, Ian Baker, Brian Anthony, Andre Saba, Michael Doyen, Calvin Collado, Chris Wells, Landon Orr, Chris Kraus, Mauricio Marquez Ramos, Wesley Waddell, Matt Markley, Shane Brown, Kevin Medea, Richard Costanza, Charles Rhodes, James Carline, Joshua Harless, Landon Height, Marcus Osborne, and Khalil McIntyre are all of your GT3 drivers. Kevin, GT4s, where are we sitting?
I was going to say, you made it.
We got there.
We got Tyler Roberts and Devin Adams on the front row of the grid, followed closely by Sean Harvey and Connor Smith. Jordan Yakubonis and Colin Olson take up the third row there, followed by Solomon Landauer and Jordan Oliver. Fifth and final row in the GT4 class is going to be Sean Roberts and Jaden Rissard. Sean Roberts hoping to avoid Tony Caicedo at all costs this week after he somehow, in back-to-back Tony spins, was the car on the scene right behind him. So a little bit unlucky last week for Sean. I'm sure he's going to be looking out for that Porsche that Tony drives quite intently throughout the next 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I say between this race and the next one, I think he'll be on a lookout to not be behind Tony for any extended period of time if he can avoid it. But we'll have to see here as we get underway.
There's some small discontent in the in-game chat at the moment, as it appears Marcus has set a full pace lap. And
why are we upset about that? I feel like it's a good chance.
The drivers like the short lap. I like the long lap, especially with the new tires. You get a little more heat into them, ride the brakes, heat those front brakes up, and get some tire temp in there via the hot brakes. You see everyone's already weaving.
Yeah,
trying to get some kind of temp into the tires.
The wiggles from the rest of the grid as that happens. Trying to get tire temps into that new tire model for these drivers. Devin Adams, also another driver that I was talking with before the race this evening, and he's very upset that he got promoted to GT4 Pro. And I told him I don't think anything you can do to not be in GT4 Pro.
Expects.
Yeah.
With how well he's been driving, I don't know what he expects. Mm-hmm. So we had to do it.
Yes. It must be done. I'm not super familiar with the rest of this. I'll go pull up a track map for Sebring. So I don't know Sebring as well as some people do.
What questions do you got? I've got a lot of them. I've got a lot of answers, maybe.
No, I just don't. I don't know all the turn names. All turn names, how many numbers there are. I do my best to remember as little as I can about this track.
So disappointed. I don't know the term names. I'll give that to you. I just pulled them up, so hopefully we can see some. Oh, that's why my relative wasn't showing. It's because I was looking at the pace car. So I am going to cheat. I do have the. This is Cunningham.
Okay.
And then the next turn is Collier.
Okay.
There's one called is it Flagpole? Marstand?
There's Tower.
Tower.
Yeah.
That's what they're going through right now. It's Tower. I knew we were there. See, I know all of them.
Mm-hmm.
This is Bishop. Just teaching.
That's fair.
Fans.
This is a fat under racing speed. This is usually much faster than taking it.
I am going to use these corner names the rest of the night instead of turn numbers, just to confuse you.
Perfect. I think I'll remember none of them or all of them. We'll find out.
Now, for some reason, this corner is called Le Mans.
I think it was part of that project where they added a bunch of other racetrack names into corners, because you have like the Le Mans bus stop in Daytona, and then you have the Indianapolis corner in Le Mans.
Hasn't that been called Indianapolis for some time now?
I have no idea.
I don't know for sure.
So.
And we all know the next one. What's the next one called, Fed?
I think it has something to do with sunset and a bend. It is the most famous corner on this track. It's also one where there's no wrong answers on the racing line. You can take through it, if I remember correctly.
You can go any which way as long as it's not toward that barrier, because it is a place that I have found myself before, and I'm sure we might see someone end up there tonight on cold tires if they're not careful enough. It is a place where we will definitely see some action.
Pace car is in. Nicholas Maynard heading off the field. They're waiting for that green flag to drop from the flag stand. That green flag is out in the air, and they are going racing the drag race between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard down to the front stretch, and picking a real defensive line initially. Rest of these drivers all working their way through it. Crash in the back. Oh, a big spin for a good portion of this field. I believe that is Chris
Oh, still
Wells. And they're still wrecking further back. Let's see who else gets involved here. Tyler Roberts and the GT4 crew now arriving on station as the rest of this field gets cleaned up. Much smoother launch.
Brody Wallace may have lost his rear. Yeah, GT4 was kept a little bit cleaner. I think Brody Wallace lost his rear wing there.
See
and
that.
his abysmal luck this season just continues. He has had some bad goes at it so far. And it's rather unfortunate for him.
That Wonder Bread liveried Mustang now missing a wing, but we do have, I believe, fast repairs available for him to get that wing slapped back on like it was a Lego part.
While all that was happening, we missed it, but Dan Griffin has passed Nicholas Maynard.
That is a pretty recent one. Tony Caicedo, Nate Sides duking it out for P5 in class. Luke Plaisance in front of both of them at this point, having moved up in overall standings 1. Oh, man. Got all sorts of movement on this grid, up and down the order. Nate Sides getting the worst run of it. Jason Larson hot on the heels of Nate Sides. And a whole train of cars here. Believes James Carline got a little loose there. They're too wide. Just a pocket of cars behind all of them. Patrick Cantrell wrapped up in all of this. It's Calvin Collado, Mauricio Marquez Ramos duke it out into Sunset Bend. And in the middle is Daniel Curio trying to come up, trying to find a line through all that.
Some people real close to the wall there on exit.
Yeah. Taking a quick look at GT4 as Jaden Rissard launches up the order there. 4 positions in one straight. And now it's trying to figure out how to hold on to it in front of all these drivers. Malcolm Coates, Chris Wells, Brody Wallace all in the pit lane for that fast repair to get those cars put together. Calvin Collado, I believe, jumps to the pits after going off track. Let's take a quick look back at the initial crash here if we can. If I can roll us back up on what happened here at the beginning of this race. As all these drivers are on track. Charles Rotes at the back of the field. I think he had a spin as well. Let's see if I can get my buttons working. Leslie Waddell. We're going to start off with this. I believe he was one of the first in this train of cars that got caught up in lap 1 incidents. So he's not the only one. Actually, it goes back further. Sorry. So much on our event ticker that I'm trying to manage. If I can hit the... Okay. Perfect. That is that initial kind of wreck with a bunch of cars flying off left, right, center. And then later on, Kelvin Collado only being marked as going off track here. And then he just has a self-spin after getting that pass done on Mauricio Marquez Ramos. Puts that rear end into the car. Keeps the wing on initially, but comes back on. I think we'll see if we swap to another camera here. We'll see that car has either damaged that right rear. Actually, he jumps to the pits before we even see it, so I believe that's the case. So, Dan Griffin still holding on to the lead against Nicholas Maynard, half a second behind. Let's see if we can find that one. That one might be a little bit harder to find amongst all this movement on the tracker. What am I missing while I'm talking about all this?
Oh, I'm going with the field trying to let everyone know who has damage. They have damage in case they can't see it. There was quite a few cars with some bumpers and wings missing, and sometimes when you're inside the car and you don't have a spotter, it's tough to tell. So trying to let the boys know so they can make some smart decisions going up.
Oh, Landon Height getting real close to Joshua Harless there. Keeps it out of the wall, though. Great save from Landon Height. Richard Costanza on the inside of this. Joshua Harless taking the wide line there. Charles Rotes getting a great race here. This is towards the back of GT3 AM. The 13 seconds behind all of them is the beginning of GT4. Couple tight battles there. Sean Roberts and Jaden Rissard have been duking it out for a couple laps now. Jaden Rissard getting passed again by Sean Roberts after his fantastic 4-car movement there a lap ago in the very long straight before Sunset Bend. Is it Sunset? Is it the straight before it? Sunset
about Inset. They are already starting to complain not being able to see very well going to there. So it's earned that name for a reason.
Mm-hmm. And that it has. Looking through all this, Nicholas Maynard did just set the fastest lap of the race, however, and is keeping a tight pace to Dan Griffin.
Nate Sides going side by side with Tony Caicedo into Sunset coming up.
Yeah, let's see. This battle has been brewing for a couple laps for them. They were duking it out earlier. That Mercedes, I would call it a front engine, though it's kind of in this weird amalgamous middle ground of not quite a front engine. Ooh, Tony Caicedo almost getting into that rear quarter panel of Nate Sides. Still duking it out too wide. Nicholas Maynard just keeps getting faster up at the front there. Oh, that is a Kelvin Collado off once again. But he gets that car put the right direction. So we'll see how these two develop.
Landon Heights had a little bit of an issue in Sunset. I believe he is saying he couldn't see the corner. And I think went a little deep.
Went a little deep. Let's see what happened. This sim has crashed. We'll see what happened here. Oh, we'll go. Play it at that regular pace here. Oh, he gets a little deep. Has a sick drift, though, but does not get the correction done in time. And that car is going to be a little bit sad. Puts that into pit. Gets it going again once he is able to see. Tony Caicedo, while we were looking at that, getting back around Nate Sides. There are battles all over the grid. Khalil McIntyre trying to get around James Carline. Marcus Osborne trying to push between both of them. Landon Orr listed as off track. Let's rewind a little bit, see what happened at the start of this. If he had it got a little loose on him. Slides it. Quick touch off the wall.
Tap.
Yeah. Gets that car going back the right direction here. I wonder how compromised that damage is. If we do a quick little hop on the roll bar as we get onto the straight here. Doesn't look like he got too damage, at least towards the actual wheel, so.
Looks like his hands are straight. That's half the battle. When you get that left hand up or right hand up, it is quite frustrating to drive after that.
So he's doing okay.
We are wheel to wheel at the front here going into the hairpin.
We are.
It's like Dan Griffin just squeezed back ahead on the straight.
Yeah, let's see. Let me hit the live button. Oh. Squeezes back ahead.
They were side by side going through turns 3, 4, 5. Which got a little interesting there for a second. It's like Maynard is not wanting to stick behind him. Really wants to get by and maybe see if he can't stretch a lead and not have to worry about another car.
Yeah, let's see if I can do this. We're going to ride with an onboard of these two as they're going at it. Both Malcolm Coates, as well as I believe James Carline jumping into the pits after a little bit of damage. We'll follow up with that here in a moment. Kind of want to keep on and see how Nicholas Maynard gets on now that he has increased that. Both of these cars have just gotten faster as the race has gone on. Tyler Roberts also losing out the lead to Devin Adams as a result of an off track. We'll check up with that here in a moment. Coming down into the straight before Sunset Bend. Correct me if I'm wrong, the BMW is the oldest car on the iRacing service at the moment in terms of active GT3 drive cars.
I think it is now. Because they did the Evo kit for the Audi and they did the Evo kit for the Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you might be correct. The BMW is the old man right now.
Fantastic. See the old school versus new school then, I guess, in a way. See the different lines they take through this car. This initial corner, which I believe doesn't have a name on my track map. Turn 1. I'm sure it does in the grand scheme of track maps.
It's got an interesting name. I believe it's Gendebien. That's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
I don't know why. I believe it looks German if I were to guess, but...
Cycling through all those gears, trying to keep up with Dan Maynard. I believe both of them set slower laps than they did the previous lap, but Nicholas Maynard still faster by, I believe, a tenth over Dan Griffin. While that battle is stretched back out to half a second, another battle that is closed in, I believe, is Patrick Cantrell on Kevin Medina, missing a front bumper. And I want to see how this shakes out briefly. And if not that, then I want to see what happened with Tyler Roberts and where he's at. Oh, he's still on the track. Okay. Sean Harvey.
Okay. He's slowly catching Devin Adams at the moment.
Okay. We also have past Connor Smith and Sean Harvey lunging up the inside there. That's for GT4 AM. Pass getting done there. And then Tyler Roberts chasing down Devin Adams. So we'll see. In the braking zone of the hairpin. Keeping plenty of room there between the two of them. Throughout all this, Dan Griffin setting the fastest lap so far for him, taking it back from Nicholas Maynard. But both of them keeping pretty quick with each other. Let's see if Devin Adams is able to hold on to this lead he's gained as a result of the off track for Tyler Roberts. Tyler Roberts has just the pace to get back around him. Shane Brown into the pits. I believe after a couple off tracks, probably give him some damage.
Oh, this stinks to see Landon Orr already with a black flag.
No. I think an unfortunate night. Let's hop on board here, see if we can follow along.
You know, it only shows him having 3 incidents, so I'm not quite sure where this black flag has come from.
Maybe not serving a slowdown penalty?
Could be.
That'd be my guess at that point if you got a black flag with only having 3 incidents. Gap now down to 2 tenths.
Closest to a drive-through. Oh, go for it.
Say down to 2 tenths between these two drivers we've been right along with. Meanwhile, a few cars have been listed as crashed in the GT3 field. Take a look on board with them in just a moment. I want to see how the hairpin settles down for these two drivers. There's a late look for either one.
Oh, no. It looks like Nate Sides and Tony Caicedo may have had a coming together.
Oh, boy.
I see Tony Caicedo with 9 incident points, and I clicked over to both of them, and both of their cars are beat up.
Okay. They
lost 7 seconds, and
Nate's in.
You know who has disappeared from that battle is... There was someone up there with them, was it?
Luc Plaisance was another driver I saw up there.
Luc Plaisance was up there with them.
Yeah, a little bit of ways ahead.
What happened to Mr. Plaisance?
I don't know. Well, let's take a look back. Let's see the replay. We'll spool it up for us. They're coming up on lapped traffic as well. Luc Plaisance in the front of this shot in that BMW. He gets turned by that GT4 who then slams on the brakes, and then we have a bit of a domino effect. Or that cool little inertia, the hanging ball mix. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, but as a result of that now, Tony Caicedo is getting absolutely swarmed by 3 GT3s behind him. And there's a whole trio of Porsches behind them. He's about to have 7 people stacked up on him as he it looks like he's got a little bit of front end damage. I'm sure he's feeling that on turn-in.
Yeah.
The Porsche already really light on turn-in, so Tony's probably not having a great time out here right now. And this could be one of those things where when one gets by, all of a sudden you're out of rhythm, and then another one, and then another one, and you can lose 4 or 5 spots really quickly here if he's not careful.
That GT4, by the way, was Solomon Landauer, who got wrapped up in that. One of the Stellarum Motorsports crew. Ooh, a little wide there, and those corners coming up to turn the Sunset straight and bend following up. This field pretty spread out outside of these two, Nicholas Maynard and Dan Griffin, a 10th away from each other as they come down the start-finish stretch. And there's a GT4 in the middle of that battle. That is Jaden Rissard off to the left of our screen there. And I think that'll keep that battle going for just a moment longer. Though it looks pretty close between all these drivers. I think Nicholas is just waiting for that moment to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think he's just more than happy to sit 2/10 off him and just wait for that perfect moment, or if Dan gets a little wiggly on corner exit as the tires start to degrade, you know, Nick will take his shot at that point probably.
Yeah. Look away for a brief moment. Patrick Cantrell listed as crashed. I'm curious as what happened here. Another car was involved. I don't see another one being involved on my event tracker. Oh, just spins it trying to go into Sunset Straight and puts that front end into the wall itself. I don't think he hit the... Maybe there's a tire barrier there that he ran into, but otherwise, he's got the car going again. Tony Caicedo.
He was already missing his front bumper before that incident, so
yeah.
Hopefully there's not too much more damage to the front end.
Hopefully not. Nate Sides now, I think, chasing him down. Devin Adams finally getting passed by Tyler Roberts for the lead. Though Tyler Roberts still having to worry about him coming back around. Half a second only separating between them. As we continue here. Just past the halfway mark. 17 minutes elapsed of the 30-minute sprint race. These two drivers.
And this is just getting incredible. 5th to 16th behind Tony Caicedo is separated in total 10 seconds, 7 seconds, 7 seconds from 5th to 16th right now in the GT3 class.
You can
There
see
is a train of cars snaking down the backstretch going into Sunset.
You can see
now.
all of them there in the background of that shot as we're looking at Tony Caicedo.
And I think some of it is caused by Tony is just slow enough that everyone's catching him and just fast enough that no one can get by him. And it's just caused a, I believe in the mid-noughties, is that what you call them? The early 2000s?
Early aughts, I think, technically, something like
the
that.
Early aughts.
Yeah.
A truly train, as it was referred to back in the day. Oh, Tony gets squirrely.
And Andre Saba gets a little push.
It's going to cause a big stack up.
A little push there for Andre Saba from Luc Poissance as that accordion effect begins to kind of take place on the braking markers in these big braking zones. Jaden Rissard in the beginning of that. Andre Saba looking to go on the outside. Tony fighting on the inside, defending his position there. Just causing the whole field to slow up behind him.
This is going to be an incredible last 10 minutes of this race.
That it is.
As all these guys are going to try to sort it out, and we have
Andre Saba is not letting go.
Andre's going to make a firm move.
Yeah.
And Andre's going to take Tony as a little bit of a roadblock. Tony flashes his lights at Andre.
Probably not
Andre's
super
going to
thrilled.
try to get out of there as quickly as he can and build as big of a gap as he can and use Tony as a little bit of a roadblock for the rest of the field.
I guess, but now Tony gets the draft off of Andre, so in a couple of these long straights where that arrow is going to be hurting him more than it's not, he might get that, make it even faster or at least a little bit harder to pass on the straights. But we'll have to see as they come around the Sunset Straight once again. The battle for first, though, I want to take a quick look. 2/10.
No, when Tony takes his 10th incident, he gets an off track there. He's going to have a drive through to release the rest of the field, so This is going to be very interesting.
Tony fighting Luke Plaisance. Wide there. There's a Landon Height also making contact with something or someone. Tony dives into the pit lane there. Oh, that is a Sean Roberts getting swarmed by GT3s in that shot that we've been kind of following along with Tony Caicedo on. Now Andre Saba having to defend from Luke Plaisance and Jason Larson for GT3 positions. Let's take a look at this crash.
Pack is just insane.
Quick look at this crash for Landon Height. I wanted to see what happened there. Self spin. Oh. Nobody else got caught up in it, thankfully. Sean Roberts having to put on the brakes.
Different Sean's Porsche. The one who's first on the scene when a Porsche is backwards in front of him.
Yeah. Chris Kraus fighting Mitch Bonaventura. A bit of contact there as they go into the hairpin. Mitch Bonaventura, I think, is missing his front bumper.
Get past Mitch here, as Mitch looks like he also has a drive-through. So Chris is probably like, "Hey, man, you're not fighting me."
I wonder if that contact that they got there was part of it. And Michael Doyen, Chris Kraus, Mauricio Marquez Ramos, this whole pack that kind of was its own pack before Mauricio Marquez Ramos kind of ahead of it. Daniel Curio, Kevin Medina, and Ian Baker all joining this one long train now of GT3 cars. Mitch Bonaventura being the car now holding up individuals, as he's also missing a front bumper, forcing Chris Kraus to go a long way around. That V8 motor of that Mustang, I think it's V8. Too wide as they keep going through.
Chris there, I got to give it to him. That is a ballsy place to say, screw it, I'm going.
Mitch Bonaventura not super thrilled with it, but he also has that drive through as well. Jason Larson in the front of this shot here, fighting Andre Saba, or excuse me, fighting Luke Plaisance for P6 overall. So the two of them going too wide through Sunset Bend here. That is a Sudi Mitch Bonaventura in the background there, going off and then jumping to pit lane.
I believe he just decided to tow.
I think so. I wonder if something happened.
He's disconnected.
Oh, getting caught up with GT4 traffic. That's Sean Harvey, I believe, the leader of GT4 AM. Currently about 8 seconds behind Devin Adams, our second GT4 Pro member. Busy track night. As we're riding along here. Separating timing for AM classes. Cool. Yeah. Jesse Olson joining us in chat tonight. We do have separate. We got that after week 1. By popular request of the admins. I added it in. So. Daniel Curio chasing down Mauricio Marquez Ramos. Another battle for overall GT3 positions. Ooh, getting a little squirrely there. Kevin Medina in the background of that shot. And that Porsche trying to find a way around. Daniel Curio being offline, getting eaten up by a couple of these drivers. Ian Baker now on the scene.
Man, with all this action, it's already been 24 minutes. We're coming to 3 to go, I believe, here.
That makes sense to me. About 2-minute lap times. Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard coming around the start-finish stretch. Still a couple tenths separating them. Both having pretty quick laps. Nicholas Maynard only 300ths behind Dan Griffin. Both of them setting personal bests, I believe. Dan Griffin setting the fastest lap of the race. Sadly, this thing doesn't travel. It unfortunately does not. Or you could get one that travels, but it may not be the nice big one that we like to use. So we hope you're enjoying your travel for whatever reason it is. Hope to see you back here on the grid soon. Out of 43 cars, I think 40 will take the 39 will take the checkered flag.
I think you were right at the first number of 40. I only see 3 out of the race. Landon Height is a couple laps behind Mitch, but...
And he's still in pit lane at the moment, but we'll see if he comes back out.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
incorrect.
he did already have one off that I think he took the faster pair on, so he may be doing a second one. Off track for Dan Griffin there, pushing pretty hard. Let's hold on to this race win. Right along with them since they came around for 3 to go. Probably ride along with them until we hit 1 to go, or maybe something closer. Jason Larson, Luke Plaisance duking it out still for P6. That is the lapped traffic, I believe. If I hit the buttons right. Of Malcolm Coates, who's had a bit of a rough race, but still sticking it out. Currently 15th in GT3 Pro. Kelvin Collado intersecting the GT4 Pro, GT4 Pro drivers as they come around for 2 to go this time by. Work travel, unfortunately, good at the miss this week.
Dropped him a little bit here. He's given himself a little bit more breathing room than the previous lap. So, I
say that
curse right there.
And right as that
and
mistake has happened for Dan Griffin, and Nicholas Maynard is right on the rear end of that machine. So we hop back on board with Nicholas Maynard.
Dan's just going to hold the middle here, try to make Nick make a decision to go to the outside.
That over-under, Nicholas Maynard looking for it.
I think we're going to see a pretty bold, at least one attempt coming to the last lap or on the last lap.
Mm-hmm.
Nick might want to wait as long as he can and try to just do it into sunset to not be giving up the draft there towards the end, especially with that Mustang behind him.
Certainly. Solomon Landauer in the pits after having another crash. Sean Roberts also listed as having a crash, but still moving. So we'll probably see him take the checker flag as well. Late on the brakes there for Dan Griffin, trying to getting off track. But holding that inside line, not revealing to give it up. That inside line turns to the outside line as they get into the braking zone here. Still too wide through the S's. And they come around to Sunset Straight. Nicholas Maynard finally muscling Dan Griffin out of there, but Dan Griffin will have the draft here going onto the straight. And with that Mustang going full bore and having the draft to not worry about the wind, I get the feeling we'll probably see what you're talking about, but from Dan Griffin trying to get around Nicholas Maynard going into Sunset.
I was saying, if I'm Nick, I don't know if I want the Mustang behind me coming into Sunset on the last lap.
Oh, and there's that power. Nicholas Maynard getting real close to the wall. Dan Griffin still 600ths behind Nicholas Maynard, pushing him out to the edge, trying to use up all that track. Dan Griffin finally abates. I believe we are on the white flag this time by.
I do see Barney waving the white flag up in the stands.
Sweet. So one more to go here for these drivers. That's these two. Nicholas's turn to have a bit of an off there in that same spot Dan Griffin did a lap before. So now we see the same verse repeated earlier, but Dan Griffin now on the outside. Nicholas Maynard in the middle. They're going too wide through all this.
He kept his nose in.
Yeah. Kept the nose in. Still looking for that opportunity there. 200ths. Technically, Dan Griffin is ahead. They're door banging a little bit, it looks like. Two of them just rolling too wide through it. I just love the amount of space they're giving each other.
Like
Never
side by side for a whole lap here, it seems like.
It does feel like that. And they're just giving each other so much space. I love the respect here. Nicholas Maynard finally getting a great run out of an exit to try to put a little bit of distance to at least take the actual racing line, not to worry about it.
Down to Sunset on the last lap.
I believe it is. My guess is Dan Griffin is going to try to set it up to where he has a great run here.
Oh, and it's good turning. He kept it close.
All right, let's see if I can hop on board with this car as well. V8 motor going.
He's not close enough.
I don't think he is either, but unless he gets a better run here, because Nicholas Maynard is real slow going through the middle of it. So, but I think he defends that inside line.
Dan stood on it. Dan tried his best, flashing his lights. What a race at the front there.
And the rest of the field follows suit. Justin Hall coming home for P3. A fantastically quiet race for him. I think he'll be pretty happy with that. I know some races for him have not been ideal this far into the season with last week, but a great finish for him as well. Nick Terrell coming home P4. Andre Saba rounds out your top 5 in GT4 as well as GT3. Pro, Luca Plaisance immediately following over for the win of GT3 AM. Chris Kraus coming home GT3 P2, AM P2, and then Daniel Curio P3. Wrap traffic there of Kelvin Collado alongside some more back markers, Matt Markley, Nate Sides. Oh, that was a very blinky Kelvin Collado. Marcus Osborne labeled as crashed after his race there. Tyler Roberts coming around the final bend now, 5 seconds ahead of Devin Adams for the GT4 Pro win and podium. A great fight, absolutely. It was just a wonderful battle start to finish on that last lap there. Sean Harvey rounding that last sunset bend to take home the GT4 AM win alongside Connor Smith, who is just behind him. Jaden Rissard probably going to take his first podium in GT4 AM as well. 20 seconds behind all of them coming down the start finish straight. Sean Roberts spinning back on to go in the right direction there in the background. I think Sean Roberts having a bit of a rough night at Sebring. Whew. All right. Kevin, thoughts?
And you don't like Sebring.
I don't like Sebring. I don't like the track. This race.
All that.
Yeah.
Still don't like Sebring?
I still don't like Sebring. Because I saw very similar stuff and different racing at other tracks this season and last season that I commentated for. It's not the track that makes it good racing. It's the fact that those two went too wide and were, kind enough and gave each other respect of the space. Regardless.
Track allows for that to happen. How many tracks don't allow for that to happen?
Very few, actually. Many have enough space for too wide in GT3s.
I think you're wrong. I'm going to leave it on that.
Certainly you may, but we'll get into the results here for round number 3, the first race at Sebring. Nicholas Mayer taking on the win, 3/10 ahead of Dan Griffin after a fantastic final move in the Sunset Bend to keep that win locked in. Justin Hall coming home P3, Nick Terrell and Andre Saba rounding out that top 5. Jason Larson, Michael Doyen, Kevin Medina, Mauricio Marquez Ramos, Ian Baker all round out your top 10. Matt Markley, Nate Size, Tony Caicedo, Patrick Cantrell, and Michael Coates all take the checkered flag. So as well does Calvin Collado, 1 lap down. Mitch Bonaventura is, I believe, marked as a DNF for this race. GT3M, Kevin, how are they looking?
Oh, I can't see the screen. Okay, GT3 AM, Luke Plaisance takes home the win and 6th overall. Great finish for him. A lot of points on the table as the GT3 classes actually share the same points table. So the further up you finish and you beat some pros, you get some extra points. So great finish from Luke Plaisance. He'll be taking home quite a haul from this race. Followed by Chris Kraus. Love to see Chris up there getting a podium. Daniel Curo taking home P3, followed by Khalil McIntyre and Marcus Osborne running on the top 5. Brian Anthony, Richard Costanza, P6, P7. Brody Wallace recovered from that lap 1 incident all the way up to P8 in class. Chris Wells, Shane Brown, Joshua Hartless, and Charles Rotes are the top dozen. Landon Orr had a rough evening. Landon Height had a rougher evening. They take home P13-14, followed by James Carline and Wesley Waddle, who was involved heavily in that first lap incident and wasn't able to continue.
That is unfortunate. Hopefully we'll see Wesley Waddell, James Carline in the race here at Road Atlanta coming up in just a few moments' time. GT4 Pro, pretty quiet this evening, only 2 finishers, Tyler Roberts and Devin Adams. GT4 AM, however, Kevin Hayes, looks a little bit bigger than it did last week even.
Few more people in there. Sean Harvey's going to take home the win in GT4 AM, followed by Connor Smith, Jordan Yacobonis, and Colin Olson are P3, P4. Sean Roberts avoided wrecks again today to take home P5, followed by Jaden Rissard, Jordan Oliver, and Solomon Landauer, who both finished a lap down there at the bottom in 7th and 8th.
Fantastic. So, while we're in between races here, do we want to talk about championship standings, where they were going into this? We didn't talk about it much beforehand. We were talking about some other stuff. But I think now is a perfect spot to talk about our championship standings as we get ready for the next round here in a few moments' time. So let me hit the buttons to make that happen. Awesome. GT3 Pro. Do we have any... Sorry, before I get into this and we talk about more random stuff, do we have anybody in our interview room for our first race of the evening? Or anybody we can pull in that landed on the podium?
I don't see anybody who we can pull in who was on the podium, and there's nobody in the interview room.
Well, for those of you
what about that.
Well, I guess we'll just roll with it, I think. For next week, though, for those of you watching the broadcast that have gotten to this point that did finish on the podium, if you want to be interviewed after your race, we accept people on the podium. Do we still accept people who were in last? I don't know if we still do that or not. I know that was the thing with Marcus and them.
Well, if the podium doesn't show up, I think we have to.
Okay, got it. So if the podium doesn't show up and you were in last and you want to talk about how bad the race was, more than happy to have you as well. So for future reference for those of you. But kicking off GT3 Pro, our current standings before this weekend started was Jesse Olsen leading that timetable with a 233-point total. About, I believe, a total of 6 points ahead of William Lemaster, who currently sits in second. Third, another 7 points back, Nick Terrell. Michael Doyen, 5 points behind him in fourth. Kelvin Collado rounding out the top 5 with 208. So pretty tight battles all throughout here. I know Jesse Olsen is not here tonight, so a drop week for Jesse Olsen. We'll see that number shift a little bit until we hit to week 4, and those first drop week rounds are applied to kind of balance out the playing field a little bit. Matt Markley, Patrick Cantrell, Nate Sides, Dan Griffin, Mauricio Marquez Ramos are your top 10, with Kevin Medina, Mitch Bonaventura, Tony Caicedo, Nicholas Maynard, Justin Hall, Ian Baker, Andre Saba, and Sergei Perok are your 18 drivers currently in the GT3 Pro standings. With the battle we saw here this evening, I get the feeling we'll see both Dan Griffin as well as Nicholas Maynard make their way back up the order from where they currently sit.
I would expect so. I think both of them have burned at least one drop week early in the season. We don't apply the first drop week until I believe after week 5.
Okay.
So that we'll see things shake up quite a bit then. But I would expect, I think you're 100% right, we're going to see them slowly start to climb back up there. And William Lemaster, Jesse Olsen, and Nick Terrell, we'll see if they stay in the top 3 after this evening.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to see. I know Jesse Olsen not being here, we'll probably bump him out of it, at least for the moment, until those drop rounds are applied. And then I think we'll see him probably pop back up, depending on how the drop rounds go for Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard as well. But GT3 AM, Kevin Hayes, what do those drivers look like, and how's that championship point battle going for everyone?
We've got Luke Plaisance leading the field by a tight margin, 2 points over Richard Costanza. Chris Wells, a further 9 points down from Richard there for the top 3 in GT3 AM, who is separated by 1 point over P4 and P5. Those are some tight standings. There are 12 points from P5 to P1.
Wow.
In GT3 AM right now. So we love to see a tight field like that. I love to see Charles Rhodes up there in P5 and GT3 AM. Don't know if you know this, but Charles started his GT3 racing career with OMEC, I think back in season 6.
I believe so, yes.
Where he almost set a record for the most amount of incident points in a single race for OMEC. Almost. I believe Devin Adams actually holds the record, and now Charles Rhodes is 12 points behind in the championship fight. So we love to see that kind of development as drivers get more comfortable. Love to see the improvement from Charles over the past year or so. P6, P7, Khalil McIntyre and Chris Kraus would like to see Chris up a little bit higher. He talks a big game. I want to see more from him. Chris, you heard it here. Landon Height surviving his incident last week with Landon Orr sitting in P8 in the standings. Marcus Osborne, P9, Adam Dahl, P10. Landon Orr, P11, had a couple issues in the past 2 weeks, so we'd like to hopefully get to see him climb the standings a little bit more. Brian Anthony, Wesley Waddle, who was also involved in that early incident today. So his rough season continues. Aaron Claybaugh, P14, Shane Brown, Guy Rayner, and Brody Wallace. And Brody Wallace just on his terrible tear here. At least he finished the race tonight. He'll score a few points and start to try to chip away to climb the leaderboard.
Fantastic stuff. Real quick, before we get into GT4 Pro, we do have people that have joined the interview room because they heard us talk about it in the broadcast. So pull in whoever you want to. Who do you feel like dragging into this first?
We will go with the GT3 AM winner, Luke Plaisance.
Fantastic. Welcome to the booth.
Hello.
So,
Luke, did you see what happened on lap 1? Because I couldn't quite tell what kicked the whole thing off.
I think I was in front of it. Like, I remember hearing some commotion going on the side of my car, but I was not wrapped up in it. Are you talking about turn 1?
That's good, because, yeah, there were quite a few people wrapped up in it, so it was good to see you get through. Hard-fought win today in GT3 AM. How difficult was Sunset getting there? Because I heard some people over the radio talking about when it became Sunset at Sunset, struggling to see the apex there.
So there is a loophole with that, is you turn HDR off, and there is a 0 glare. I had no issues.
I believe we call that metagaming. I believe that's
Yes,
the term.
I turned it on for the Spa 24 last weekend, and I never looked back. It came in clutch here. But no, this was an excellent race. I was super happy. I did get tipped in one corner, which was a little upsetting, but I didn't really lose too many positions. I got right back in the fight for where I was. But I ended up finishing where I qualified, so can't really complain about that.
Yep, came all the way back, so love to see it. How do you feel about Road Atlanta?
I'm excited. I do enjoy that track quite a bit, and it always makes for some good racing, especially in this field.
Well, good.
These guys are really talented.
Yeah, we had 43 cars at the last race. We know Road Atlanta with multi-class. The S's get fun. Keys to the race for Luke to go back-to-back tonight.
Keys for me?
What are your keys to the race?
Oh,
to go back-to-back tonight. What are you focusing on?
Consistency for me, and composure. Those two things always give me a good result, regardless of my pace.
All right, well, we hope to see you here after race 2. Fen, any questions for Luke?
Not at the moment. I do notice that we saw Tyler Roberts in the interview room, and then he bounced back to League Focus. So I might see if we can grab him for a brief moment. But I think it'll probably be after this race. We'll have to see. But
all right, Luke, were you in party or focus chat?
I was in focus.
All right, I will send you back that way, and good luck in race 2.
All right, appreciate it.
Fantastic stuff. All right. Once we get loaded into the second session here, we'll finish off our championship standings. Yeah. Do you like Road Atlanta?
Love Road Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm going to say the same thing I say every week, which is it's great in a downforce car. Tyler Roberts is also in the room. Let's
good.
grab him
He's
real quick.
Come back in here. Get in here, Tyler Roberts. Welcome to the booth.
Oh, I did get picked. Let's go.
Yeah, we saw you up there. I don't want to keep you waiting too long.
Well, you were the only one in there, so we kind of had to.
Literally just jumped in because
Luke
came back into the other chat and was like, they might call you in there, so I joined just to see.
Fuck yeah. Well, welcome to the booth, Tyler.
Was the broadcast super entertaining? Because it was real entertaining from the driver's seat.
Well, explain to us how that was driving as the GT4 Pro winner, but also on the GT4 side of the GT3 incident that happened, especially on lap 1 as well as all the other ones we saw.
Coming through T1, we were coming up on the remains of the wreckage. So, I exit T1, and there's just a field of dead GT3s in front of me.
Oh, man.
Bumpers everywhere. It was clearly some shit went down. So I went back and watched what happened at the start, and there was 4 cars lost the rear exiting turn 1, and it just kind of cascaded through the field.
Wild. Kevin, questions do you have?
Tyler, how scared are you for Road Atlanta?
I'm not scared at all. This
is the slower class coming to the S's doesn't scare you at all?
No, I love this track. This is probably my favorite track to race on, and it's real tight with Sebring because Sebring and Road Atlanta are like almost interchangeable for me. But if I had to pick one, it would be Road Atlanta. So I'm very excited for this race.
I think Fen would agree. He would pick Road Atlanta over Sebring. We all know how much he loves that track in Florida.
Oh, you're not a fan of Sebring?
Oh no, it's well known within most. It should be well known, and I will. It's not a track I particularly enjoy because people say, especially because the conversations I seem to have with people is that they love the racing there, and I'm always a proponent of tracks don't really make the racing. It's always the drivers. So that is my big conversation.
Kind of why I have my strong dislike of Spa because the track could be fine, but I swear the racecraft just goes out the door. Everyone turns into an absolute missile the second that Spa is an option.
I feel like that's
it's tough for me to love Spa.
Certainly, that is how I feel about Sebring. Is that it's tough for me to love it because it's a very flat track. It's very dull. I don't think it's very inspiring on its own. Oh my gosh! I think we just saw Solomon Landauer almost get killed by a GT3 Mustang. I couldn't tell if it was Dan Griffin or Ian Baker. I think both are running the new Multimatic paint there, but we saw that in the Scenic. So. Keys to the race, things that you can do to go back-to-back GT4 Pro wins here tonight.
I just got to be consistent. I'm really my own worst enemy when it comes to consistency and just qualifying. Like, I managed to qualify and didn't off-track myself both laps. Like, if I can qualify well, races usually go pretty good because then I'm not feeling like I'm overdriving the car to try and make up for starting poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Road Atlanta, that's just like survive the S's and you're pretty much good everywhere else. Like if those giant curbs don't get you, I feel like it's overall a fairly easy track to drive.
Anything good for managing multi-class traffic and trying not to get murdered by a GT3?
It's easier for me to say, I feel, because I've been in OMEC for a while, so I kind of know how certain drivers are going to behave. So it's really just kind of being smart, pick your time, like facilitate easy passing. You know, everyone always says that it's on the faster class to overtake, but it still takes two to make it happen. Like if you can facilitate it so that both of you lose the least amount of time, it always works out best.
So Tyler, you mentioned you know how other people drive and how they pass, if they're aggressive or not. How would you rate me being in a faster car and overtaking a slower class?
Aside from you broadsiding me on the season finale last season, I feel very comfortable having you coming up as like a passing car. I usually am pretty confident that you're gonna.
Talking about, sir. That was perfectly clean. That's not at all why I brought this topic up.
Definitely wasn't a Ferrari-shaped missile.
It wasn't a purple Ferrari. Absolutely not. That couldn't have been me.
Sorry, I am a bit colorblind. Maybe it was pink. It might have been a different car.
Oh, Marcus Osborne. Oh my goodness gracious. Hold on one second.
The crunched up looking
Marcus,
Mustang right there.
How did you save that? Marcus, I don't get how you saved that race car.
I'm looking at it.
You got to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on board with Marcus while he caught this.
All right, we'll ride on board with him as he catches it. Anything else you have for questions for Tyler as we ride along with Marcus Osborne? Oh my gosh.
Kept it out of the wall.
Jeez.
Unbelievable. Tyler?
What? Me?
Good luck.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
He's
Tyler,
out of here.
Sweet. Our P1 winner of Sebring last round, and so we're just about done. Let's power through the rest of the championship standing. GT4 Pro Am, a little bit smaller and easier to get through. Tyler Roberts, who we just talked to, leading that GT4 points pro points championship as well, 235, only 1 point ahead of Devin Adams, who also is tied with GT4 AM's leader. We'll get to him in a second, Sean Harvey. So those two in 235, 234, only 10 points separate all four drivers here. Gary Yee in third with 230, and then Joe Evers with 225. I think a drop around for Joe Evers this week. I don't see him on track. I didn't see him on track in Sebring. I don't see him on track now. But those four there. Any surprises for you, Kevin? I think this is probably one of the more stable groups of cars that I think we see out of our options.
I think Devin Adams can't complain about being moved to pro.
Certainly not.
That's what I think.
You think we'll see Sean Harvey, the current header of GT4 AM, who we'll swap to in a moment. I'll let you talk about where those drivers are at.
I don't think we're going to move anyone else. I think we're going to leave everyone where they are, though Sean is not doing himself any favors, being tied for second in GT3 Pro and 20 points ahead of Kyle Orvetz there in P2. Solomon Londauer, who is out here with us tonight, sitting in P3 at 155 points. Quite the delta between second and third there, so we'll see what they do to try to close that gap. Mr. Duval at 115 points in P4, followed by Sean Roberts and Jaden Rizard in P5, P6. Jordan Oliver, P7. Tim Schaefer, who's not out here tonight. I don't think he was out last week either. Tim has a broken collarbone, if I'm not mistaken, so hopefully he's feeling better and in less pain, because that is a rough one to have. And hopefully once he gets healed up, we can get him back in the league. Jordan Yokobonis, who I believe finished P3 in GT4 AM last race. Am I crazy?
I think he did not finish, which I think is why he's at 0 points on our on the
points haven't updated from the last race yet.
Oh, sorry. Yes, from the most recent, literally earlier today. Yes, yes, that is fair. Sorry.
Yes, from Sebring.
So he will definitely get some points to be on the board more properly after tonight.
And that's it. Those are the standings.
Cool. Well, we have one more. Team championships. Justin.
Do we have that now? Oh,
yes,
we have it now.
We have it now.
Off the press.
Hot off the presses, literally minutes before the session started, because I wanted to make good on saying I'd have it here this week. And I do. Project Zoomies is leading the team championships with 437 points, only 9 points, ahead of Mystery Inc. in second. Veterans United currently in third with that 398. Fantastic driving from Michael Doyen, and Rich Costanza puts them in a fantastic position in the team championship. Shut Up and Drive It, formerly TBD, Jesse Olsen, Justin Hall currently in fourth with 349. And SM Starfarer, Stellarum Motorsports Starfarer with 328, tied for fifth technically with Easy Bake Racing, who's in sixth. Supernova, Checkers of Wreckers, Awful Sauce Motor Racing, B&B Racing round out the top 10 with Outlander, my former team, or really technically current team, just I'm not currently driving for them. Sudi, Slower, We Try Harder, SM Endeavor, Prestige Motorsports, Sudi here for the SR, SM Pathfinder, and JT Racing round out the 17 teams in the championships. I feel like we have more teams this year than we've had in any other season.
We definitely do, but I also would like to point out that this Checkers or Wreckers is of no relation to my Checkers or Wreckers. We're actually currently in a trademark dispute in the courts.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so that's some some
name
drama
coming back. So this Checkers or Wreckers is of no relation to Joe Evers and Kevin Hayes Checkers or Wreckers, who I might add won the team championship last season. I have a nice trophy in my home to celebrate that.
Yep. Now, does that have Checkers or Wreckers written on it?
On the trophy.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then it sounds like this is definitely a big trademark violation there. We'll have to see. We'll have to get do some between race documentary style interviews to really get a feel for where this is at and how it impacts the race going forward, the championship going forward.
What does this mean for OMEC that our own namesake is stealing team names from admins and members of the league? Like, what does it mean for OMEC? What is the
future of OMEC? Is Marcus Osborne in a chat that we can pull him in? Have a conversation about it? He's deafened, so I think sadly not. Or we could, but... Oh. Well, my Discord specifically dropped.
Well, you're back.
I'm back now. Yeah, specifically my Discord. The stream is fine. I don't think there was any problems there, but Discord apparently said no.
That's good.
So, yeah, nothing on the broadcast.
What do the people in chat think about this legal dispute?
Right now, I don't hear any drama from the chat about it. Last thing we saw was Sean Roberts talking about damn Porsches. So, I was wondering if...
I think this legal dispute is bigger than the NASCAR 2311 FRM Motorsports charter situation. This is just straight stealing a team name.
It
This
is.
is like if I showed up to NASCAR tomorrow and called myself Hendrick.
Yeah. Nick Terrell, Devin Adams are both in the booth. Do you want to pull them both in for whatever the heck they want? I don't know why they've jumped in, but do you want to see what they want?
Pull them together.
All right.
Pull them together.
You have to pull them in. I don't have that. I don't have those permissions.
Let's see.
So. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Solomon Landauer. Oh. What?
I think this is Devin doing Devin things.
Okay, Devin doing
I'm
Devin
that
things.
Devin pulled Nick into the interview room with him.
Okay. All right. Then we'll wait to see what that is. Timing towers
Are they
right
working
now.
on a strategy? Let me go to the interview room and let me see.
Okay. I'll be here. I'll talk about currently the timing tower, which we haven't really pulled up here because we're focusing on our championship standings. Sees Dan Griffin at the top of the timing tower. Is Justin Hall 2 tenths behind him? 1.6 tenths. What's the verdict?
They're talking setup.
Oh, very cool. Don't they
I
have
think Devin just didn't want to have that conversation of Tyler Roberts. So
Yeah,
I believe
okay.
Devin has moved him and a private chat in order to discuss that in a little more.
Why don't they hop into the
say,
Mystery Inc. chat? Like, what are their team chats? They both have a team chat, don't they? Well, I mean, sorry, at least Nick does. Anyway.
I don't know if Devin does, but Nick should be able to bring Devin into his chat. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
well, that is for them to worry about, I suppose. So setup discussions happening, which should be interesting for them going on. Talk about the current practice timing. About a minute left before we get into qualifying. Dan Griffin, top of the timing tower with a 117.45. Only 2.5 tenths between him and Nicholas Maynard, and he's currently in P4. Let's see if I can do this the way I did it earlier. Interval gap. Game. Okay. See there on those timing tower where I have both the interval and the gap to the leader all together. Oh.
So Brody Wallace is on a mission this evening. He's currently P2 in practice.
Oh, man. That he is, I think, trying to make up for the rather lackluster start of the evening in Sebring. So, what kind of car model haven't we ridden on for a lap this season that we can take a ride with for a lap around Atlanta?
Have we taken a GT4 for a lap yet?
I think we did at least last week to see what GT4 qualifying looked like. I don't think we've been in an Aston Martin, though. We could ride alongside, I think, Sean Roberts. If Sean Roberts is here. I don't see him in this one. Yeah, I do. There he is.
Sean Roberts on track now.
Yep. No, I'm blind.
In the, I love the paper cup, the 90s paper cup themed Aston Martin.
Do you want to talk us through a lap here as he's getting set to go racing? Once he comes back around to the start-finish stretch?
I'll talk us through.
All right.
Let me hop on board with him.
Yeah, we'll see. He's going to want those tires a little bit more. We'll hop on board as well. I've got a few different options of onboard. When we get around this our stretch here. I love, I was like, I know you just said it, but I'm also going to agree with you that it's such a fun throwback to the paper cups of the 90s. That blue and purple.
Yep.
So, all right. Talk us through.
Yeah. Your lap for qualifying realistically starts at the end of the chicane there because you're flat out from there all the way to the front stretch. So getting that quick run through the last corner on the previous lap is very important. Turn 1 here, real quick. The back end wants to step out from you. He keeps it in 5th gear. No downshift here in the GT4. Get a little bit of better traction through the corner without the over-rotation. Blind crest here. You want to clip the curb on the inside and really get the power down early is because you're going to be pretty much flat out all the way down through the S's in most cars. A little lift there from Sean. Just hammer the curb there and then back all the way across and then hammer the curb again on the exit. It is a beating through the force feedback through this track and the S's because it is just one of the rip the steering wheel from your hands. This corner is a place to make up a ton of time and lose a bunch of time. The right-hander and then the really slow right-hander, sometimes it's tough to get the nose of the car to come around at once to push off the track there, but you got to get an exit because it sets you up on a straight track where that there just costs you time down the entire straight. It's the only chance of the track you really get to breathe a little bit. Time for the fun fact. The Whittington brothers, who owned this track for a little bit and were notorious drug runners, used to land their airplanes on the backstretch when they owned it to move drugs into the United States. That's my Road Atlanta fun fact as we come through the final chicane. Get a great exit out here and power down all the way to the start-finish line, and that is going to be Sean Roberts' first qualifying lap. Let's see where that puts him.
Let's see, that puts him a 126.59. Pretty quick.
I think he's the first one to set a time. So.
Yes. But still fairly rapid. Devin Adams said 127.38. 126s are pretty competitive in most GT4 splits in this car. You want to for the Aston Martin, its gearing ratio really likes 5th through a lot of high-speed stuff. Brody Wallace putting it on provisional pole for the moment with 118.27. And we'll see how well this all shakes down. Tony Caicedo also on a lap. You'll see him probably do a little bit less lifting through the S's that we were, like Kevin Hayes was talking about. You do a little bit more in that GT4 than you will here with the GT3. Flat out for Tony Caicedo as we get through qualifying. Currently in 3rd. Nicholas Maynard in pit lane for the past 2 minutes. We'll see if he sets a qualifying time. Dan Griffin also not having set one just yet. Nate Sides taking provisional pole away from Brody Wallace in that Mercedes GT3. So Connor Smith, Sean Harvey, Colin Olson all setting fantastic times as well. Solomon Landauer a little bit slower than the rest of the pack, but still pretty rapid, or at least setting a great time there. Brody Wallace taking that provisional pole back from Nate Sides at 117.99. Fairly quick, even for GT3 standards, if I remember correctly.
It's a good lap. It's an on-edge lap. Justin Hall goes a little bit quicker, too.
And Tony Caicedo matches that time. I believe both of them setting pretty quick laps. I believe, between Tony Caicedo and Nate Sides, especially if we get over to the GT3 only, and I add Brody Wallace in there, literally down to the 10,000th, the same lap time Brody Wallace had as Tony Caicedo. Break it back out here. It's a little bit different, but nonetheless equally fast. Nicholas Maynard out to get a lap done. Dan Griffin not setting a lap time. I think he had off tracks on both of his attempts at a lap, so he will be starting, I think, from the back of GT3. See.
I believe I have incidentally entered this race. So I'm going to disqualify myself.
Oh, did you not register as? You didn't expect it. Ah, okay. Oh yeah, I see you on the timing tower there. So yeah, you have been labeled as disqualified. And we'll see Colin Olson up personal bests in a couple sectors. Chris Kraus trying to beat a 117.9 or at least get close to it. We'll see where he comes out. Tyler Roberts setting a lap time a second faster than Sean Roberts. So I think it's going to be a pretty competitive GT4 field for all these drivers.
He loves those GT4s. Tyler loves those GT4s.
For a while there, I think he still is. He's in the LMP3s in the Saturday League that I also call. So it is he loves that speed of machinery, I think, all across the board, from prototypes to the GT4s and the like. Nicholas Maynard, personal bests in all three sectors so far. No purple sectors, so not the fastest overall. We'll see if he gets in between Justin Hall and Brody Wallace. About a half second there between them two, and he does. Splits the difference almost exactly. With 2.5 tenths almost between himself and Brody Wallace, as well as technically Tony Caicedo in GT4 Pro specifically. Jordan Nokobonis, Kelvin Collado, Landon Orr, and Jaden Rossard also not setting lap times alongside Dan Griffin. What are you confused by?
That Dan Griffin hasn't set a lap yet.
He has 2 off tracks. I think he tried it twice and failed both times to keep it on track. At least that's what I'm seeing on my end. Purple sector 1 for Nicholas Maynard. He's definitely trying to come for that top time there. Purple third sector. See how he does in the final sector here. Riding all of that curbing as you're supposed to take on the exit of that chicane. Purple fourth sector. So he goes top of the timing tower at 10th faster than Justin Hall. So Michael Doyen, one of our last drivers to get a time in, or in the attempt of setting a time. About a minute and some change left, so to wrap up the lap time for all of these drivers, or wrap up a qualifying attempt, I should say. And he abandons that lap time, I believe, as well. Chris Kraus just coming across our finish line. No improvement for him. Far worse, actually. I think he had a bit of an off track there. Connor Smith, purple in the first sector. Currently working his way around in that blue 95. Lightning McQueen liveried BMW M4 GT4 G82 Evo. How many acronyms can you add on to the end of a car name? I think
GT4 Evo. There is an Evo 2 package for one of the GT3s. I know that. I'm just trying to think what else you can do. Evo Sport 2 is probably the best you can get.
Yeah.
The new Evo Sport 2. Someone's going to do something stupid like that at some point. It's going to be Lexus.
Yeah,
because they're going to roll out. They're going to roll out this new GT3, and it's going to still be racing in 2048 with the GT3 Evo new second edition 4 package by that point.
Oh man. Well, I called off GT3 last time. You want to do it this time? We'll take a swap of what we're running down as we get these cars set to grid.
I'll go top to bottom here, and I'm going to hammer through it. Ready? Right. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Nicholas Maynard, Justin Hall, Brody Wallace, Tony Caicedo, Nate Sides, Nick Terrell, Malcolm Coates. Ooh, Malcolm Coates, P7 after a rough day at Sebring. Like to see him there. Marcus Osborne in the absolutely illegal car. There's no way Marcus is getting P8 on his own. Patrick Cantrell, Andre Saba, Jason Larson, Wesley Waddle, Ian Baker, Michael Doyen, Mauricio Marquez Ramos, Kevin Medina, Matt Markley, Chris Kraus, Luke Plaisance, Chris Wells. Luke Plaisance kind of a rough time coming through the field if he wants to go back-to-back tonight. Brody Wallace starting 3rd, Luke Plaisance starting 19th. Yeah. Chris Wells, Charles Rhodes, Khalil McIntyre, Shane Brown, Brian Anthony, Richard Costanzo, Josh Raw, Heartless, and Landon Height. At the tail end of those GT3s, we have Dan Griffin, Kelvin Collado, and Landon Orr.
As well as
I believe that's it. Those are all the GT3s.
Those are all the GT3s. Don't mind the Kevin Hayes that has no distinguishing factors there. And it's number 31 in the GT3s. It's not a real GT3 driver. That's just a booth commentator.
Figment of imagination.
Yeah. GT4, Tyler Roberts sharing the grid alongside Sean Roberts. Sean Harvey, a different spelling of Sean than Sean Roberts, alongside Devin Adams, the two GT4 Pro members intersected by two GT4 AM members. Connor Smith and Colin Olson on the third row, Jordan Oliver, Salomon Landauer, Jordan Yukobonis, as well as Jaden Rissard, the last row there, not setting a time there on the grid. Another full formation lap, I believe, to get the tires warmed up before we go racing. And we'll see how these drivers get these tires warmed up before we go racing here. Any big movers, people that you're interested to see where they ended up here in the grid before, as we're making our way around through the safety car?
Well, I think we're going to see Luc Plaisance move through the field today, so keep an eye out for him. I think I called him out in the quick grid walk coming in from P19. Won our first race tonight, would expect to see him move up through the order. Tony Caicedo in P4, I almost want to say keep an eye out for him poking his nose in somewhere on lap one. If he even gets a sniff at being able to get in front of Justin Hall in front of him, or maybe a 2-for-1 and get Maynard as well, Tony will make that move, and he is aggressive on cold tires, where some guys tend to be a little more conservative. So excited to see what happens up there at the front. Down in the GT4s, I want to see Sean Roberts keep it close. I like to see a battle of Roberts versus Roberts. Devin Adams in P4 there. I don't know if it's not his best track, because he's been qualifying very well in the GT4s today, but I expect to see him probably move through the field. I think a lot of tonight's going to be about managing traffic, and if you can use a GT4 as a pick, expect to see someone do that, because they are going to, you can put someone in a bad position behind a GT4. Not a lot of places to go 3 wide here at this track. You're going to get stuck behind them, especially as you come through the S's or maybe through the chicane towards the end of the lap.
We'll have to see how all that shakes down here in just a little while, coming through those awkward couple corners that you can either make or break a lot of time before the nice long, I would say, straight section, but it's not fully straight. Details. So you're still flat out through all of it, so it's not like you're really doing anything different than you would be on a natural straight time. The one thing is you're adding a little bit of steering input up until the chicane. So this is a perfect place to, I think, land like one of those, what are they called?
Like a Cessna?
Yeah, like a Cessna. No, I was thinking the...
Maybe full of product from another country?
Something like that. Full of product from another country. We'll see here where they all end up.
Folks in chat, if you haven't heard that story, just go look up the IMSA drug case in the 80s. It is a wild time.
That it certainly is. IMSA as a whole was a very different beast in the 80s than it is now. So, lights are on for the green flag as Justin Hall and Nicholas Maynard line up, getting ready for that green flag to drop. And drop it does. The foot to the floor for both of these drivers. Justin Hall getting a great run over Nicholas Maynard. Let's see if we can see this here. Into turn number 1. Nicholas still has the inside, however. Brody Wallace on the inside of Tony Caicedo, 2 wide from the first 2 rows. Nate Sides, getting a great run in front of Nick Terrell. We go to single button down. Tony Caicedo getting the run over Brody Wallace for P3. So watch these front runners go through. Pretty calm otherwise. Down the field. Dan Griffin up 9 spots on that start. So I think we'll see him move up the order pretty quickly by the looks of it. Let's see here. In GT4, Sean Roberts.
What are talking about on chat? There's trying to sort everything out.
Certainly. I'll just keep riffing. Sean Roberts and Tyler Roberts going 2 wide into this sector here. That awkward couple of right-handers. Sean yields for him. Devin Adams getting a great launch as well, getting in front of both Sean Harvey and Colin Olson up to P3 and GT4 overall. The rest of the field there, all shaken out. Jordan Oliver, Michael Doyen getting around Tim Lander and trying to get through that field. Started from the pit lane, so a bit of a recovery drive for Michael Doyen as we go around for the first time. And there is chaos as Justin Hall has a bit of a rough last couple corners there. Tony Caicedo, Brody Wallace, Nate Sides all getting around there. Nate Sides is spun, but gets
it back up.
Caught. Huh? Oh, straightens it back up.
He left reared him and then poked him back forward. He said, I'm sorry about that, man. Here you go. Let me get you back on track here.
Still down a couple positions there as they keep going. The rest of the field together. Mauricio Marquez Ramos off in the background there of that shot. Getting a terrible run there. Let's see if I can take a quick look here. Just ever so briefly. Did he get tapped there by Dan Griffin? I couldn't tell. No, he just got really loose over that curbing and then lost control of it on his own. So.
Oh, those curbs are just horrible. You get a little wide and it almost sends the car airborne.
Tony Caicedo, Brody Wallace too wide into the chicane. Tony not trying to give too much space to him. Brody Wallace on the inside, though, not wanting to lift either. Justin Hall looking to capitalize on the fighting that the both of them are doing and now forces it too wide with Tony. Eases back up to go single file. Three of them all kind of fighting each other, allowing Nicholas to just get the run he wants. Nick Terrell getting fastest lap, followed up by Jason Larson dethroning it by 0.3. GT4 field pretty stolid at the moment. Jaden Rissard up 5 positions. So I'm looking at a couple of these drivers. Mauricio Marquez Ramos coming into the pit lane to get that service, kind of following along with this front pack here that Tony Caicedo is in front of. Brody Wallace now free and clear of Tony, puts a second gap on them.
Nick Maynard has absolutely bolted.
He is gone, yes. He's gone up the road, free and clear of all this. And the rest of the pack is all filed up behind Tony Caicedo, who's desperately trying to hold on to the initial places there. See Justin Hall getting the draft there, coming doing the same thing that Brody Wallace did a lap ago.
Train tonight.
We'll see how well it shapes up overall. Nick Terrell, Tony Caicedo just losing time on the outside of that initial part of the chicane pretty much every lap, it looks like. We'll see how it shakes down. Devin Adams, Sean Roberts, Landon Height, I think having a bit of an off there, falling down the order. Let's take a quick look at that while these cars go around. Oh, comes off track there, gets loose, and then ends up wide. And just keeps it from going out. Oh, no, does not get that car stopped in time. Keeps applying the pressure, and that car just keeps turning on him. So he gets it all together. Sean Roberts also having a crash here, coming into, I believe, the braking zone of the chicane. And what happens here? It gets a little loose on him. Keeps it out of the barrier and really on track, but he's going to lose the place to Devin Adams and keeps it ahead of Sean Harvey, but only barely as they go into the start-finish stretch here. Front of the field, Nick Terrell joining those that have gotten around. Just Tony Caicedo, Nate Sides, and Tony Caicedo are back at it once again. All right, busy couple laps here. Nate Sides lunging up the inside.
Oh.
You take a breath. Oh,
Tony's coming to the pits.
Yep, coming to the pits. I wonder what for. Damage early on?
He's got some front bumper damage. I'm curious if he's just going to go get it fixed and see what happens. He must be feeling something in the car that's just not right.
Yeah. As a result, top 3 spread out pretty heavily. 5 seconds from Brody Wallace to Nicholas Maynard. Another 2 seconds from him, Justin Hall. You can see both those cars in there as well as the gap between them. Nate Sides closing that distance between himself and Nick Terrell for fourth and fifth. And then Marcus Osborne 1 second behind both of them. Malcolm Coates fighting Jason Larson on the inside of this corner just behind those two. Sticks that nose in there in that Corvette on the BMW. The Skechers BMW, and Patrick Cantrell in the rear of that shot as well, looking to wait for this fight to settle down to see if he wants to go around. Whew. While we were talking,
I thought they were going to touch there.
I thought they were too, but they didn't. Lost a lot of time, however, as a result. Patrick Cantrell is now breathing down his neck as he has to figure out how to get back around Jason Larson a second time. Luke Plaisance has made his way up to third in GT3 AM. Yes, I had that right the first time. I almost thought I said GT4, and so I restarted the sentence without actually double checking. Matt Markley not willing to let that pass happen. Ooh. Jason Larson having a bit of an off there. There's a GT4 off the road earlier up as well. And he is just trying to keep that car out of all of the doors. The cars he was just fighting with. Take a quick look at what happened that led to the off track. Oh, let's see. Let's jump a little bit back earlier. He's at the head of this train. Loses it going into the right-hander there. Loses rear bumper as a tap happened with Malcolm. And then he's just offline for all of this spot, and that's hard to get back online. Kevin Medina, I think, also had a quick net code of a tap there, and maybe almost hits Dan Griffin, I think, in the middle of all that, or Ian Baker. Excuse me, Ian Baker. So, while that was happening, what else have I missed?
On lap 4, Dan Griffin had a issue at turn 1 and backed it into the wall, so he had to come in and take his fast repair. But he's all the way down in P27 right now, 48 seconds behind the leader. He's got a long 20 minutes ahead of him to try to get some points back this evening after finishing P2 at Sebring. Sean Roberts got back into P2. Something happened to Devin Adams. Not quite sure what happened to Devin. But he did disconnect from the session, so I have a feeling it was a terminal error, and that's unfortunate to see as he was running P2 and was on for a good result here after starting P4 in the GT4 class. That's a big hit.
Big hit after getting off there. A little bit of touching the grass in the GT4 is a lot more deadly than the GT3. You don't have the downforce in those cars to use the aero to push the wheels back down and keep a little bit of traction there. A lot easier to break that traction, and therefore a lot easier for those cars to get become far less, usable, and problems to happen as a result. So, Dan Griffin on a recovery drive. Jason Larson.
The other thing, Marcus Osborne, P6.
He has been calm, cool.
So the other thing, Marcus Osborne is up to P6 now. Am I cutting in and out? Just curious.
You aren't for me. Am I cutting in and out for you?
Okay. No.
Maybe you are. I'm lying.
I said no. Did you hear me say no?
Yes, I did. I heard the no, but I have not heard anything since the no. And I was like, wait, am I?
Okay. No.
Okay.
No. We're all good.
Cool. Brody Wallace being hounded by Justin Hall up at the front of the field. I wonder if those tires are pretty warm from all the work he's been doing to try to put a gap between himself and Tony Caicedo as they get into lap traffic. I think also playing a factor here as they go looking for 3 wide into the chicane. Yeah, Justin Hall's not giving up any room. Brody Wallace kind of stuck in between all these cars trying to keep this car going the right direction. Sean Harvey as well as Connor Smith in front of them. Oh, and they're going to be 2 wide there. Justin Hall looking for the switchback. And finally gets that inside line there. At least initially, Brody's having a far better race, it looks like, even in P3 here.
He is running really well right now and keeping up with some of these really fast guys at the front of the GT3 Pro class.
Oh.
Spoke about him maybe a little bit too soon. He's pushing really hard there.
Yeah, I think those tires are overcooked, which is part of why he's
looks
losing
like
time.
he got away with that one.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't see too much damage on his Mustang there. I think he got real lucky with just glancing the tire barrier. So
if I can do this, nope, gearbox. See if I can see in the next braking zone where, if there's anything on that car, as we look back from Justin Hall. Doesn't look like it's anything too major by the looks of it. So.
No, I think he got away with one, and because that is a place where you start bouncing. We already saw it from Mauricio Marquez Ramos this evening. You start bouncing out there, and you're kind of along for the ride at that point. You're no longer in control of your vehicle, and you're just hoping you land point in the right direction.
Yeah, Landon Height kind of parked there. I wonder what happened. Oh, that is a backwards Landon Height. Who came off and on track just a moment ago. Off track throughout all this.
A
and
little
just,
wide out of the last corner.
Oh, loose going into it. Doesn't give it time to settle. Bounces that rear end off of the wall there. I think parks it as a result. At least gets it towed to get that bodywork repaired. Whew. All right. Drivers.
Well, so all that's going on, it looks like Nate Sides and Nick Terrell are slowly creeping up to the Brody Wallace. It's taken about 2 minutes down to 1.5 right about now, 1.6. So Brody's going to have another fight on his hand really soon with two veterans of OMEC.
Yeah, and Tyler Roberts getting caught up in the middle of this as they get through that lap traffic. I don't think that's been helping, I think, Brody or most of the other drivers here as they get into it. Tyler Roberts leveraging that facilitation of the pass that we talked about in between races here. Consistency, I think, paying huge dividends here as he is, I think, 10 seconds ahead of Sean Roberts. Connor Smith fighting with Sean Harvey for P2 in GT4 AM. Oh, they don't touch, but they get really close. We didn't talk about GT4 as much in Sebring, just how much action there was happening on track. Charles Rotes also diving into the pit lane. We'll see if that has something there. These two, the gap spreading back out.
Drive-through for Mr. Rotes.
Man. Doesn't take much to get a drive-through in OMEC on the sprint weeks. Oh, and that is going to be the lap traffic, I believe. I want to say that's Brian. Excuse me, not Brian Anthony. Shane Brown, and then Landon Orr, Tony Caicedo, all trying to get through these couple of drivers here. In the background of all of that, Jaden Rissard also in this battle for GT4 AM. Dan Griffin back in the pit lane. Oh, he has been labeled as crashed. He got loose there and pulls it off the side here and parks it. Did he have an incident before that? No, just looks like
It looks like he's saving the car there and then go back a little bit further.
Let's see if I can. We'll see if I can rewind that here.
It looks like he has an issue coming from curbs. Might decide data.
So let's hear. Let's take a look at that from here. Yeah, I think he has a similar issue that we saw Brody Wallace have, but he was far less successful at keeping it out of that barrier than Brody was. And I think he does not have a functioning.
I think maybe he just damaged his front right wheel. Yeah.
Sean Harvey, Connor Smith still in this battle.
Second race.
Absolutely, a very tough second race for Dan Griffin there. I'll take a look here with these drivers and lap traffic and how that factors into everything. Andre Saba And Joshua Harless beating around these drivers for GT3 AM. They are in their own fight alongside Michael Doyen for that position. I feel like this race is a lot more spread out than Sebring was.
Well, we don't have a Tony Caicedo to pack the field up right now. He is still working his way back. He's back up to P15, and my biggest mover of the race, I believe, is Luc Plaisance, who is now up to top 10 overall, P3 and GT3 AM. Started way down in P19, so there's some movers right now. But yeah, we don't have a damaged Tony to put 10 cars all within, what was it, 7 seconds of each other?
I believe
10 minutes to go.
Brody Wallace has been caught by Nate Sides and Nick Terrell by a lesser extent. This battle for P3 overall, I think, is coming to fruition. Battle in P3 or P2 and P3 and GT4 AM cooling off. I believe Sean Hobby is finding a little bit of pace there.
We have to go all the way to P8 to see a not front engine car in this field.
1, 2, 3, 4,
It is
5, 6, 7, 8.
BMW, Mustang, Mercedes, BMW, Mustang, Mercedes, and a Medina and a Porsche, followed by a Mustang and a BMW and a BMW.
And then
It is
finally, Matt
front engine
Markley.
domination.
Yes. Matt Markley is
holding
the
on
second one.
the little McLaren, which was your split in the Spa 24 very McLaren heavy.
So ours was a mix of McLaren and Ferrari and
Okay.
I want to say Mustangs or BMWs. We had a lot of mid-engines and then some front engines. But it wasn't just McLaren.
We had, and I can tell you no less, of a 56 car grid, I would say 20 to 25 of them were McLarens. At one point in the
Jeez.
race, the top 13 were all McLarens. We ended up being the first non-McLaren to finish in P10.
Wow.
They almost swept the top 10. It was McLaren heavy in our split, and we thought we missed something. We were blown away. I didn't think that it was still the meta car, especially seeing after the front engine domination we've had here in OMEC. But the McLaren seemed to be potentially the car to be in for the Spot 24.
I think it really... I think
So
with
Team
how
Redline,
little...
1-2 and top split in the BMW.
Yeah. I would say with how little the BOP initially was applied to the McLaren, I think a lot of people chose the McLaren initially and then did not swap off of it when the BOP was actually applied to them. I've had to take a gander on why that was so heavy in GT. GT3 for the Spot 24. Excuse me. Had an entire absence of the train of thought.
Yeah, that's true. If everyone's done their practice in it, you're not switching out for a 3% weight penalty or something like that.
Yeah.
You're just going to take that on the chin and move on.
Yeah. So, Nate Sides, Nick Terrell, now within a second of Brody Wallace. Making up the time there. Ian Baker hounding Kevin Medina. Michael Doyen and Andre Saba as well taking on, trying to get past Shane Brown for some overall points. The field pretty spread out overall. Looking at this battle here, I think we'll take a quick look a little bit, just a moment, for a battle between Ian Baker and Kevin Medina for P6 in class and P8 overall. Yeah, a lot of front engine dominance here. I'm curious if it's the tracks we've been going to have a lot of
Front engine characteristics with the point and shoot nature of them.
Or straight, just a lot of on throttle sweeping corners that really complement that front engine stability under high speeds. End of sentence.
You expect to see at Daytona next week? I think we might see more of the same thing.
Oh yeah, I'd have to imagine. Yeah. So look at the schedule. Daytona next week. After that, I believe we have a break for the midseason. A special event that weekend. I believe once we announce it, are we covering that special event? Do you know?
I think we will. Right. I don't know if we've decided on what the special event is yet.
All right. Brody Wallace
on that next week, I'm sure.
Fair enough. So after that special event, I think Suzuka will probably see a little bit more mid-engine and rear-engine preference. Fuji, I think it'll be a tale of two cities between that start-finish stretch and then the rest of the lap. A mile long
straight in the world.
Well, it just goes on forever.
So long.
I think if it was like 20% shorter and the rest of the lap was the same, I think it'd be so much better. Brody Wallace flashing lapped traffic ahead of them.
For everyone out there who knows the difference, Fuji will be without the chicane. We'll bring that up, I'm sure, the night of. But
that's Charles Road off the road.
It is without that god-awful chicane that they put in.
Oh, Jaden Rissard having to deal with lap traffic. Landon Height also lap traffic of GT3 variety in the midst of this fight. Nick Terrell and Nate Sides both trying to get around Jaden Rissard, giving that gap to Brody Wallace a full second as Nate Sides and Nick Terrell are now in the fight particularly. Spaceballs the Beamer against the Mystery Inc. Mercedes. Something I don't think I see enough of in official racing these days is Mercedes GT3s. But see here.
I think Nick is getting ready to put a move on Nate in the next couple laps.
I would have to imagine the gap keeps closing, and they're not getting any time to Brody at this stage, but I think they've come across the GT4 traffic between all the GT4 AM drivers and then Tyler Roberts at the front of the GT4 field. And so that gap between all of them, I think, is going to ebb and flow over the next couple laps, and we'll probably see that move that you said will happen as soon as Nick gets a better exit than Nate Sides in front of him.
This could be it here. Nick sticks behind him.
Yeah,
I really expected to see the nose of that BMW to poke out there.
I was thinking either that corner or this corner I was going to see it, but we may see it into the braking zone of the chicane.
Looks like Nate's just able to get a little bit of a better run out of that double right-hander than Nick is, which is allowing him to stay ahead into the chicane, and then Nick is quicker through the S's, especially turn 5 that last lap. We'll see if Nick is able to maybe go, you know what, I want to be in front for the straight because I can't quite get you going into the hairpin. I'm going to try it somewhere else. Or the chicane, I'm sorry. 10A, 10B.
Yes. One of the
Terrible
few tracks
for a corner
that have added A and B's to corners. Sean Roberts getting involved in this, trying to keep out of the way in that Aston Martin GT4. Further down the order, Ian Baker, a 10th behind Kevin Medina. And this is where the Porsche, a little more stable, I believe, through the S's than the Mustang, but the rest of the lap, the inverse is true. And our first non-front engine car with Kevin Medina. GT4 traffic. Connor, and Sean Harvey right into it. Sean Harvey spun, I believe, by Connor Smith here. And that is going to be an unfortunate break for Sean Harvey, who's been having a fantastic season so far. Kept it out of the wall, though. Let's take a quick look, if we can, what happened there.
And he'll get a spot back there because that actually gave Connor Smith a drive-through. So I know Sean's probably not happy about that, but he will at least get one of the spots that he lost due to that back.
Yeah, at least one there. Yeah, just in the braking marker there, you see that.
Oh, I think he may have just surprised him coming across.
Yeah, I don't think Connor was planning for that. Him to brake there as well as hard as he did, right as Connor Smith was trying to make that corner as well. So, but Jaden Rissard benefiting off of that battle between those two drivers. Kevin Medina still holding off against Ian Baker. Luke Plaisance being hounded by Jason Larson. These two, we saw them fighting each other in Sebring, and now it looks like they're back at it again in Road Atlanta.
They're two pretty looking cars. The BMW in that metallic blue looks so nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Skechers and Prestige Motorsports liveried BMWs both are. I think it really benefits from that. Got a little bit of an off track there, I think, from Justin Hall, who is way down the order. What happened to Justin Hall while I was looking at that?
What did we miss?
He entered pit lane.
Let me check his incidents.
Yeah, I'd say it. Did he have enough for a drive-through?
He is at
no.
1.
He stops in his box. Maybe didn't have enough fuel to make it to the end.
Wonder if he underfueled the car.
No. And that's a Brody Wallace in the wall. What happened there?
I'm going back. Oh no, he had just gotten up to turn to P2. It's all kicking off here, and all of a sudden Nate Sides and Nick Terrell are in P2, P3 fighting for second spot on the rostrum.
That they are. I'm looking at the little bit of a slowed down version of this because I want to see exactly what happened here. If he got loose going into that final corner, it looks like he does. You see how much slip angle that car has. But he keeps it going, at least for this corner. Excuse me. Oh, go to full speed.
Worst part there for Brody is that gave him his 10th incident point, and he's going to have to serve a drive-through and lose even more spots here.
Did he get into it with Tyler Roberts? What happened here? Oh, he did get into it with Tyler Roberts.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Came across, tried to take the racing line. Tyler Roberts still there, and he got spun as a result. So now Nate Sides, Nick Terrell battling it out for the overall, P2 overall. Ian Baker and Kevin Medina now passing each other into the chicane. Justin Hall on the scene, trying to get around both of them because he's trying to make up as much time as he can now that he's good on fuel. He doesn't have to worry about it. Brody Wallace, that is a white flag as well. It's been half an hour this time by. Nicholas Maynard, 15 seconds of the gap between these drivers. No. What's up?
Brody Wallace, I think, thought he was going to the wrong pit lane to serve his drive-through and coming back on the track. He tries to come all the way across the right side, and he gets in front of Luke Plaisance, and Luke has nowhere to go. And that's allowed Kevin Medina to get back past Luke.
Jason Larson?
Oh, goodness. There is
back.
Jason Larson. I apologize.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure I had the right driver because I was like, There's like 5 different battles that have all kicked off.
Drive-through here. And Jason Larson has a drive-through here, so he's going to lose spots at the line. Luke's going to get that spot back.
Checkered flag is out for Nicholas Maynard, who comes across to win both back-to-back this evening. Nate Sides and Nick Terrell duking it out for P2, P3. As they come across the final couple corners here, Nate Sides getting a great run to keep that P2. And that slip angle for them done very well. Marcus Osborne in P4 overall takes home GT3 AM. Oh, man. Patrick Cantrell coming home P4, and Ian Baker P5, sticking ahead of Justin Hall, who's trying to make up as many spots as he can from that start-finish straight there. Luke Plaisance coming around. Tony Caicedo keeping ahead of Matt Markley. Brian Anthony. Great comeback for drive for Tony, who had that issue early on. Michael Doyen, Brody Wallace coming in to serve that drive-through on the final lap. Landon Orr coming in just behind him. Chris Wells, the rest of the field coming in behind Tyler Roberts. I think has come home P1. Sean Roberts, P2. Sean Roberts, P2 overall. P1 in GT4 AM. Excuse me. Jaden Rissard in P2. Connor Smith and Sean Harvey in P3. All right.
Oh, we got someone burning it down in turn 1 right now.
Oh, let's take a look here.
I think that's Marcus Osborne for the
believe.
GT3 AM win. After Brody Wallace's issues, Marcus has come through.
And a consistent drive for Marcus Osborne.
And he wins GT3 AM, and he is letting everybody know about it.
So,
I'm sure he is already ready to get into this booth.
oh,
he might
he
already
is
be in the
waiting.
interview room.
Yes, he is waiting in the interview room for us.
He is ready. Let's pull him in while he's burning it down. Oh, keep the burnout going, sir. Well deserved on your GT3 AM win.
Let's go.
E4 overall, great points haul. Talk us through the race. I don't know how you ended up there. I thought you were P3, and then all of a sudden things happened.
Woo, well, I was sitting P2, but Brody Wallace got into it with someone at the very last lap, and that gave him a drive-through, and that basically handed the win to me. He was putting in just amazing laps all night. I had the high downforce set up, so everyone was just walking away from me on the straight, but Sector 1 was feeling fantastic. And I think I got a safety bonus too, so that's great.
Some bonus points there. Yeah, Brody Wallace unfortunately had an absolute mare the last 2 laps. He fell all the way to P21 at the end of this thing after penalties were applied. Rough evening for Brody. So, Marcus, this is your first win in how long in OMEC?
I think ever.
Since season 1?
I think this is my first. No, I didn't win season 1. You're
going to count this as a win, seeing as it wasn't an overall win.
Yeah, it's class win. I'll never get overall win. Those guys are too fast.
I don't know. I mean, the amount of
time things happen.
Really
they happen tonight.
I mean, that's true. I really focused on the qualifying lap for this one, though, because Sebring, I think I had the pace, but I messed up both qualifyings and started last, and then got that incident early on, and I had wheel damage and aero damage the entire race. So this one, I really wanted to qualify, get out up front, keep it clean, and that's what we did. I chose the safe setup for once. Usually I go lower wing, but chose the safe setup, was a little slower, keep it predictable. I channeled my inner Patrick Cantrell.
I think you need to stick with that strategy. It came out well for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to run high downforce at Daytona next week? I think it's the plan.
Well, I won't
I definitely
be here.
don't see anything bad that can happen. Oh, you're not racing next week. And that's going to be a Mustang circuit.
No. Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I mean, I'll be on a trip. I'm on vacation, so it's all good. But so last week? First.
Well, good. Well,
first week Daytona I dropped week. So this win was neat.
I am losing.
It was needed. Do you want to stay in here for Landon Heights' interview? He tagged us in between sessions, so I want an extra mediator in here because I don't know where this is going to go. He's got things to say.
Let's see what we got.
Landon Height.
Hello.
Welcome to the booth.
Hello.
You said you had things to say.
Yeah. So this week was rough. I can't lie. And I forget I was gonna say about that first race. I was gonna say something. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking now.
Did I hit you the first race? I hit someone.
No, but I spun out first race. And I tried to save it, and I just couldn't.
Landon got sunset into sunset.
Yeah, that sunset
and
blinded
went a little
me.
deep.
I went way too fast through there. And I would have had time, but 36-minute repair because of the Porsche. I hit the rear, so.
Got to make sure that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a rough evening.
Another
ended.
rough night. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to
But-
talk to Marcus about a contract dispute. So I'm going to send you down to Focus. I need to talk to Marcus about stealing my team name.
Oh.
Yeah, we have
We need to have a
a
little we need to have a conversation, and so stick around and keep at it, and we'll see you next week at Daytona.
You know what? Hopefully it's better next weekend. Next week.
Yes, sir. Marcus.
So my opening remarks, like opening statement to the jury.
Oh, do I gotta be the mediator here now?
I created Checkers Record. I gave you guys that line. I was the first one to say it.
I don't know if I believe that statement,
Rebuttal?
sir.
Yeah, because the
I
team
just don't
races, I
think
said we're
that's true.
Checkers of Records. Because that's how I
But
race.
think
It's
that was
Checkers
out
of Records.
beforehand. I think that term was already on one of my
I don't
cars
know.
before that.
Well, it's not that this is my team. I'm just a new driver for the team. You're like team principal.
I would never sign Chris Krause.
You're Christian Horner.
Oh man, out of all the
And
options,
You've
What I
made
said
some
on the
rough
broadcast,
decisions.
and
I think
I
I'm
would,
I think I'm Sergio Perez. Washed up and old.
Here's what I said. I said that this Checkers of Records is of no legal relation to the Checkers of Records that Joe Evers and I won the team championship in last season. Because we would never be down in 8th place.
Yeah, I don't think we have the consistency to win team championship this season. You never know. There
Not
could
with
be
that
an
attitude.
upset. Brody and Luke could get pushed up to pro because they're pretty quick.
That means nothing for the team championship.
yeah, it changes nothing.
Oh yeah, shit. Well, nah, we're just screwed then. We're cooked. That's okay though.
Tyler Roberts, GT4 AM winner again.
Back to back.
Hell yeah. I told y'all in the previous interview, I love Road Atlanta.
Well, you put a pole position lap in about a second quicker than Heat 2, and then from there you pretty much ran away with it. We didn't have much to say about you tonight. I don't even think you were on the broadcast for more than when GT3s were coming by you.
Yeah, we had a brief.
It is one of the downsides of having just kind of a walk-off win.
Well, there's worse problems to have. You could be Marcus
That's
Osborne.
true. I'm thankful every
That's
day
true.
I'm not.
It's a tough life I lead.
Oh man.
Well, all
Alright,
right.
you still
I
got
think
the
that's
best looking
gonna
Mustang out
conclude.
there.
That is
Ben?
true. Patrick cooked with his paint.
Patrick always cooks with his paints. Shout out to the
Also,
Barks
does
Barks
Kevin-
The Barks
GT4.
paint is fantastic. The Barks paint is
Yeah,
fantastic.
Does Kevin just have like a
very
10-second
hyped about
delay
it.
on his Discord?
Absolutely. It's been evident since about halfway through this
Yeah,
race
maybe.
that I've got a bit of a delay.
I think
And
we
it's
all
been,
do.
It's been brutal. Fen and I were talking over each other quite often. Yeah, something's going on
Yeah.
with Discord, in my
Yeah.
opinion. It's
No, I
see-
think it's just Kevin.
No, because I think
no, Marcus,
we've
your
been
name like lights up.
we've been stuff at each other.
It's
all
been
day.
that. It's been that for the past 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Good.
and I've had 0 drop frames. The stream has been looking smooth as butter, so I think it's Discord specifically. I don't
Tell you what,
know.
every time you see me slide the car, I don't know what happens to my computer. I drop to about 10 frames per second while I'm in the slide. And then when my car straightens
tell
out,
you what-
it's buttery smooth again. It's terrible.
I can tell you how to fix that issue. I know what the issue is.
Do you wanna
That's
add
good,
in
you should
some-
tell me.
Turn your particles down because it's the smoke probably that's causing it.
Oh.
You know what? I'm gonna check
Particles,
mine out
high
too, because
detail.
mine doesn't drop to like undrivable, but mine definitely gets a little, like noticeably drops a bit when smoke and stuff starts getting kicked up.
Oh, if I slide
turn your
and there's like 10 cars around me, it's rough.
turn your particles
I'll have
down
to check
to
that.
low. That helped me before.
Kevin or
We're
Marcus?
gonna
I haven't
kick
looked
y'all
at my
out. We're gonna
graphics
get Sean
settings.
Roberts.
Yeah.
So I'm sending you guys
Alright.
back down to the focus chat.
Thanks for broadcasting,
All right,
boys.
peace
Talk
out.
to you,
Yep,
talk to
see y'all
you
next week.
Thanks, guys.
Last but certainly not least, Sean Roberts. Welcome to the broadcast booth.
Good to be up here.
Fantastic GT4M win. First one of the season. A pretty solid drive ahead of Jaden Rissard to break home that win. Kevin, what questions you have for this driver?
Was it nice being in a race where a Porsche wasn't backwards in front of you?
Actually, twice there were Porsches that were spun in front of me. Thankfully, they were already spun and stopped, but they were
I
still
was
there.
gonna say, because Spa last week, you cannot escape Tony Caicedo.
And he spun twice in front of me, and then at Sebring,
Yeah, we saw it.
the Porsche
we
spun
were
in
watching
front
you
of
live
me.
when that happened.
with the GT3 pack bearing down on me.
Yeah, that was quite the event. I would say it go watch that back on the broadcast. It was as hectic from our point of view as I'm sure it felt for you. So hopefully one day you won't be looking at Porsche's headlights facing the wrong direction on the exit of a corner.
We'll see. Time will tell.
Man.
Ben, any questions for Sean here?
Where'd you get the paint? It's so good.
Just found it on Trading Pains.
Fantastic.
It's just plain. I'm like, yep, that's, yep. I'm gonna run as a nobody, just as a simple scheme. I think is that the ones that were on like the old styrofoam cups like back in the 90s or something like that? I don't know why. I think that's what the design was from.
That is exactly what that's from.
That's what I know it from. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like,
right.
yep, there's my paint.
how you liking Aston Martin?
Perfect.
I know I've had mixed results from myself as well as others that I know that drive a lot of GT4s.
That car had a really weird snappy oversteer if you got the braking wrong. That's why I spun on in that chicane. I didn't get my braking right. And as soon as I pitched in, there's like a little bump. It just kept sending the car around.
Mm-hmm. You kept it out of the wall though. It was a great catch there once you didn't get too far away from you.
But yeah, then that cost my chase to Tyler, and then once the GT3 got in there, I didn't stand a chance to catch him unless he got bumped out of the way.
And he almost did with Brody Wallace there at the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brody Wallace. I think it was just a subject of not getting fully clear of the GT4 that he was passing, and pulled over to the racing line where Tyler Roberts was still at, and got pit turned as a result. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, Brody has had a hard week this week. Still came home pretty decently in terms of in-class P4, but a little way down the overall order in terms of the points that he brings home. But so it was seemed like a hectic race out there. Are you excited for Daytona next week?
Looking forward to Daytona. That's another one that I generally run well, but we'll see how that goes. My running in the GT4 this year has not been fully up to snuff for me.
Did you run in a Mercedes last year? Or Porsche? Last year. Last time we had GT4s here.
I don't think I ran last year.
Okay.
If I did, it might have been one. I don't remember. I think I did run a Mercedes at one point. I know I ran GT3. I ran the Mercedes.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago we had GT4s again. I'm trying to remember if you were in that season and if you ran the Mercedes then or a different GT4. So, either way.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look back and see. But anyway, yeah.
Fantastic result. Congrats on the GT4 AM win this evening. We'll be looking forward to seeing how the Aston Martin fares against Mercedes in the long straights of Daytona next Tuesday.
we'll see what happens. See you next week, guys.
Alrighty. And I think our interview room is clear. Where we... Oh, we don't have sound anywhere. All right. With that complete...
What an evening.
What an evening. We'll talk about results real quick, as fast as we can, and wrap up this broadcast. Because we haven't done it yet.
I'll run through the pros here. We got Nick Maynard, Nate Sides, Nick Terrell, Patrick Cantrell, followed by Ian Baker, Justin Hall, Kevin Medina, Matt Markley, Michael Doyen, Malcolm Coates rounding out the top 10, Jason Larson, Tony Caicedo, Andre Saba, Mauricio Marquez Ramos, Kelvin Collado, and then Dan Griffin down there in P16. Rough second race for him this evening after a P2 at Sebring.
Yeah, a rough evening for him, and as well as Kelvin Collado, neither I think taking a checkered flag there, unfortunately. So, and in GT3 AM, Marcus Osborne taking home that win we talked about earlier. Luc Plaisance a ways behind in P2. Brian Anthony P3, Landon Orr in P4. Chris Wells, Shane Brown, Joshua Harless, Chris Kraus, Brody Wallace, and Khalil McIntyre round out your top 10. Charles Rotes, Richard Costanza, Landon Height, as well as Wesley Waddell round out the 14 drivers, 13 of which took the checkered flag. I believe Wesley had a bit of an issue early on and was one of the, I think we had 5 in total retirees over the course of this race. GT4 Pro, Kevin Hayes, pretty, I think, simple, unfortunately.
Large field here tonight. We had Tyler Roberts, 18 laps ahead of Devin Adams.
Yeah, Devin Adams not finishing that race at all. So, last, certainly not least, GT4s. Sean Roberts taking on that win. Jaden Rissard, 18 seconds behind. Connor Smith, Sean Harvey, and Colin Olson round out the top 5 there. Jordan Yokobonis, Jordan Oliver, and Solomon Landauer round out your drivers. The 8 GT4 AMs, I believe 7 of which took the checkered flag. Maybe 6 if Jordan Oliver didn't. Have to go look that one up. But I think that is it for us tonight, Kevin. Final thoughts, closing remarks?
Great evening. Very excited for Daytona next week. Daytona always puts up a great battle, especially with the draft and everything. And I don't know if fuel will be an issue. It's been an issue in sprint races in the past. So we'll see if a little bit of strategy comes in, particularly being in an endurance week. Guys trying to make it work with 2 stops, and other guys who might push and make it a 3 stop. So we'll see how that strategy plays out next week. I'm sure we'll talk more about it then. Great evening tonight. Sebring always puts up a great race, and we had some action big time here at Road Atlanta. So great evening of racing, 2 30-minute sprints, and we will see everybody next week for our Enduro at Daytona.
Fantastic stuff. I have been finishing alongside Kevin here in the booth. We will see you all in a week's time for Daytona on OMEC. Have a good night, everybody.